So today we've heard that it's not a civil right to be married if you're an American citizen, if your orientation is not the same as the person declaring you have no civil rights. And that the reason is because then brothers would marry their sisters. That was the reason I got, and that needed to be debunked. So let's debunk it once again. No one is born predisposed to marry their sister. No one is born oriented to their sibling, to be attracted to their sibling. No one is born oriented to farm animals. These are desperate choices, born out of boredom. This is not an orientation. This is not genetic. This is not your DNA at work. This is boredom. Wash. Get out. Go see people. Do things. Go to a town with more than 612 people in it. Expand your horizons. You will not choose your sister in that case, nor will you choose a sheep. But if you do, it is still a choice. When you are 12 years old and attracted to the same sex, that is not a choice you are making. It is your DNA. It is who you are. It is the essence of you. I don't know what's wrong with people. Well, number one, it's not a civil right. Number two, then brothers would marry sisters. And this was a nice man. I mean, he was just operating from some false foundation based on no fact. And this allows him to be prejudiced. Then we have another guy who wants to make marriage secular. Therefore, the government has no role in secular activity. Banking is secular too. They have a role. And anything that is customarily given to one group of people in this country, like you get health insurance if you marry someone who has health insurance. You become a U.S. citizen if you marry someone who is a U.S. citizen. And if you want to get divorced, you have to do it in a court. If you get married, there are tax disadvantages, marriage penalties, because it is a secular thing. That's why all divorce happens in court. Not all marriages happen in a religious setting. Mine did not. John Campbell's did not. Some people do get married in a religious setting, because they not only want the legal part of their marriage to be recognized, but they want the spiritual part of their marriage to be recognized. That is a choice. That is not, it's not mandated. You do not have to get married in a church. Guess why? Because church and state don't go together by force. There are secular things that people do in a church setting. And the secular part of our life, which is the U.S. Constitution, allows people to make choices like that. If you start mingling church and state, you're going to end up with neither in very good shape. But because we have a Constitution, you may, not shall, but you may get married in church. You may get married in a temple. You may get married in a mosque. You shall have the choice. But when you get divorced, you're not getting divorced in a church. You're not getting divorced in a temple, and you're not getting divorced in a mosque. You're getting divorced in a court. You're getting divorced, and your stuff's getting split up by the court. Because it's a secular institution. It's guaranteed to all heterosexual people. And therefore, if it's customarily guaranteed, then it's customarily guaranteed to everyone, equal protection under law. Not church doctrine, not the Bible. Bible has nothing to do with your marriage unless you choose for it to have something to do with your marriage. You can choose for it to have everything to do with your marriage, but your divorce is going to be in a court. That's because the law is secular. It doesn't say if you had a Christian marriage, then the Christian church is going to divide what you got. It doesn't say if you had a Jewish wedding that the rabbi is going to divide what you have. It doesn't say that. It also does not say that you must be able to reproduce in order to get married. Because if that were the case, I would have had to get a waiver. Unreal. Linda in Long Beach.
Hi, Randy.
Hi, Linda.
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you. I am so confused about this. I mean, there's so many different things coming into play. It's like it's it's clouding my brain. But I have one question to ask you, and this is from the Bible. Why did God destroy Sodom and Gomorrah?
Mostly because they baked unleavened bread. They were very lazy, and Lot offered his wife and daughter to the townspeople.
Okay. Well, it seemed to me that at that time there was a lot of homosexuality going on there also.
There was also a lot of laziness going on there. There was also a lot of baking bread without yeast, which apparently, pissed off God. And then, do you remember the story how Lot said, I'm protecting these guys who came to my house and baked the unleavened bread. They're under my roof. They're my guests. Here, take my wife and daughters instead. God also said no adultery. And yet Lot offered his wife. And yet when we talk about this story, nobody ever mentions that Lot offered up his wife and his 2 little girls. Okay?
I realize that.
All right, so let's tell the whole story. There was a lot going on in those towns. A lot.
Right. And it was.
And, I think God said, enough with these towns.
Right. Enough is enough, and all.
But it wasn't about homosexuality. It was about the general disarray that entire town of Sodom got itself into. And whatever happened to the Gomorrah part, anyway? How come we don't call them Gomorrahites?
I don't know.
It
seems to me that,
So it seems to me that people cherry-picked out the facts of that story or the parts of that story that they could use to discriminate against groups of people, but didn't pull out the other parts.
The other part.
Yeah.
Well, a lot like that happens too often.
It does, because, they used to use the Bible to say God actually intended slavery.
Mm-hmm.
I just, I don't think that's a correct interpretation of God's word either. But I will say this to you in parting.
Okay.
Next time you think about civil rights, think about civil rights under law, not biblical teaching, not firmly held beliefs by you, not what you want the church to do about any of these issues, but what you want the government's position to be. And when you're squarely understanding that the government has no role in religion or our ability to talk about it or not talk about it or practice it or not practice it, then you actually are on the right path toward thinking about the law as secular, and therefore it has to apply to everybody. And whatever is commonly offered to one group must be commonly offered to another, or else it violates the Constitution's Equal Protection Clause.
Okay.
All right? And then,
that makes sense.
Yes, it does, because it is sense. It is common sense. It's wisdom that you get from the Bible. It's common sense and an orderly society that you get from government.
Okay, Randy, I appreciate the help.
You're welcome, and thank you for asking.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.